Jasmine Pineda came onto 90 Day Fiance with hope and excitement, ready to start a new chapter with Gino. At first, it seemed like a classic love story: sparks, promises, and the dream of building a life together. But if you were paying attention, the first cracks started showing almost immediately. Things that seemed natural on camera often had a push behind them. Subtle nudges from producers shaping her reactions, her words, even her most private moments. The smiles, the tears, even the arguments sometimes felt off. Gino, who appeared charming and affectionate at first, was caught in the middle of this. The tension between the person he really was and the way production wanted him to behave began to show. Small disagreements became dramatic blow-ups. Moments that might have been private or minor were suddenly amplified, edited in ways that made Jasmine look unstable or overly emotional. You could almost see the pattern forming, her reality being rewritten in real time. Early red flags weren't just about what the cameras captured. Jasmine later revealed how producers encouraged her to confront Gino on sensitive topics, knowing it would create tears and conflict. The emotional manipulation was subtle at first, disguised as storyline advice or what the audience wants to see. But for anyone paying attention, it created a tension you could feel in every episode, like walking a tightrope with hidden hands pushing you off balance. And it wasn't only her relationship that was under pressure. Jasmine's personal life, her visa status, her family concerns, everything became intertwined with the show's narrative. Each scene had to fit a script she didn't write, a version of herself she didn't recognize. It's exhausting to watch someone try to live authentically while the cameras and the people behind them keep editing your life without consent. Even early on, whispers of behind-the-scenes struggles were circulating. Crew members, casual insiders, small leaks hinted that this wasn't just drama for TV, it was a calculated system where emotional stress, legal pressure, and personal betrayal were part of the package. Gino's behavior, her reactions, and the storylines around her life were being shaped to create maximum tension, not necessarily truth. The audience might have seen a few shouting matches, awkward confessions, or relationship breakdowns. But what they didn't see were the private moments where Jasmine felt cornered, pressured, and misrepresented. The manipulation was precise, and by the time it became obvious, it was too late to control the narrative. And yet, even in the middle of this controlled chaos, Jasmine tried to assert herself, to protect her dignity and her story. She started noticing patterns, the ways certain edits painted her as the villain, the ways Gino's actions were framed to make her look irrational. That awareness planted the seeds of resistance, though she couldn't yet imagine how far the stakes would go. Behind the polished drama of romantic tension and exotic locations, something far more serious was brewing. There were hints of legal trouble, subtle threats, and the kind of corporate oversight most viewers never consider when watching reality TV. Little did she know, what started as emotional manipulation would escalate into a full-blown legal battle that could upend her life completely. And it's only getting worse when the lawsuit drops. Jasmine thought she had seen the worst of her reality TV journey when minor edits and producer nudges made her look volatile on camera. She had no idea the real storm was about to hit. Out of nowhere, Gino filed a lawsuit against her. This wasn't a minor disagreement. It was a $70,000 legal claim, and Jasmine had no warning. Publicly, Gino maintained a calm, almost detached image, the perfect boyfriend facing the camera. Privately, the legal papers dropped like a bomb into Jasmine's life, shaking everything she had tried to hold together. But when the camera stopped rolling, the tension didn't fade. Jasmine faced her own legal counsel, the looming threat of fines, and the crushing realization that her story was now being told without her consent. Fans watching might have seen anger or frustration on her face, but behind the scenes the fear was more visceral. The lawsuit was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. TLC's alleged manipulations began to reveal themselves in sharper detail. Producers would nudge her toward confrontation, coaxing out arguments that felt spontaneous but were anything but. Lines were suggested, emotional beats rehearsed, even timing of reactions carefully orchestrated to make the cameras capture her at her most vulnerable. What the audience saw as drama was often a highly controlled performance, engineered to generate tension. Every yell, tear, or anxious glance was measured, edited, and rearranged to tell a story she hadn't agreed to. You won't believe what happened next. Episodes aired, and social media exploded. Fans criticized Jasmine for being unstable, overreacting, or dramatic. Comments ignored context, editing, and the pressure cooker behind the cameras. Meanwhile, Gino's public persona remained polished and sympathetic. The contrast was jarring. One side of the story played for sympathy, the other side scrutinized for weakness. It's easy to miss how powerful that manipulation is. Humans instinctively empathize with what they see, so the edits, timing, and selective scenes guided the audience to judge Jasmine before she even had a chance to explain. The stakes were more than just public perception. Jasmine's visa status hung in the balance. Legal fees piled up. Her professional reputation in the U.S. was on the line. Every move she made could be weaponized, and she felt trapped between compliance and resistance. Fear became a constant companion. This wasn't reality TV anymore. It was a tightrope where one misstep could mean personal, financial, and legal ruin. And just when you think she has no options left, everything flips again. Jasmine began documenting everything, collecting emails, screenshots, and recordings of producer instructions. What was once chaos became strategy. She started to see patterns in manipulation, certain scenes edited to exaggerate conflict, others withheld to make her seem unreasonable, all timed to amplify drama. Her natural reactions, anger, fear, frustration, were never fully represented. They were reshaped into a narrative that suited the producer's vision, not reality. But the emotional toll didn't stop there. Each public episode became a mini battlefield. Viewers online debated her character as if she were a fictional villain, never knowing the full story. The emotional dissonance between who she was privately and how she appeared on TV was relentless. Even friends and family struggled to separate the show's edits from her true personality. The betrayal wasn't just legal, it was emotional, professional, and deeply personal. You won't believe what happened next. Amidst the mounting pressure, Gino's actions seemed to mirror the show's manipulations. His timing, words, and statements played perfectly into the narrative being edited around Jasmine. She began questioning whether the betrayal came from one person alone, or a system designed to control and profit from conflict. It's hard to overstate the psychological strain. Watching someone's life and their reactions become entertainment while simultaneously being legally attacked is a unique kind of stress that resonates deeply with viewers. People sense it on a subconscious level. They feel the injustice even when they don't know all the details. Producers reportedly escalated matters, encouraging scenarios that would push Jasmine to her emotional limits. Arguments were extended, confrontations heightened, and reactions were recorded multiple times for different angles. The audience only saw the final cut, never the repeated setups or deliberate provocations. This creates an emotional pull that's almost impossible to ignore. Viewers empathize with her stress because it feels authentic, even if what they see is manufactured. But when the camera stopped rolling again, the stakes became painfully real. Jasmine wasn't acting anymore. Each interaction, each court filing, each comment on social media layered on top of the previous pressure. Fear of deportation, the lawsuit, the threat to her career, it all collided in moments of quiet panic when the lights were off and the cameras weren't watching. This contrast between public image and private reality is why her story resonates emotionally. It's about survival under scrutiny, a fight most people could barely imagine. She began to strategize, slowly reclaiming agency over her life. Every email and recording became evidence, a way to prove that her responses weren't overblown. They were human reactions to a system built to exploit her. This was her turning point, but even here, nothing was guaranteed. The tension between exposure and control kept escalating. Fans online could sense the manipulation, empathizing deeply with her struggle. The emotional weight of seeing someone punished for authenticity is hard to ignore. And just when you think she has no options left, everything flips again. Legal advisors, supporters, and careful documentation gave her tools to push back. What seemed like a dead end became a fight with a plan, a way to reclaim her story while navigating an environment that had tried to trap her at every step. The betrayal from Gino, compounded by TLC's alleged manipulations, created a high-stakes environment that few could endure. Yet Jasmine faced it, and the tension built to moments even the audience couldn't predict. Jasmine reached her breaking point when the cameras caught her in what can only be described as a total emotional storm. The yelling, the tears, the frustration, it wasn't acting anymore. Every glance, every movement was charged with weeks of fear, pressure, and betrayal. On set, her meltdown became the moment everyone whispered about. Producers had pushed her into scenarios she hadn't signed up for. The final straw wasn't scripted, it was real. Police involvement added another layer of tension. Suddenly, this wasn't just reality TV drama. It was a legal nightmare. Jasmine faced the possibility of detention, her visa status hanging by a thread. Fans watching at home could feel the weight of every camera pan, every shaky word spoken. Behind the scenes, it wasn't a performance, it was survival. And just when fans thought this was over, another twist appears. Secret emails surfaced showing producers instructing Jasmine on how to react to certain questions, how to exaggerate conflicts, and when to display emotional vulnerability. These leaked documents painted a stark contrast between her private fears and the public image edited for maximum drama. It wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was a carefully orchestrated manipulation. Gino's public narrative remained calm and composed. He appeared measured, sympathetic, and wronged. But the reality behind the cameras was different. Insider accounts suggest his actions were closely aligned with producer expectations. His lawsuit, his timing, even certain public statements, all seemed designed to escalate tension while keeping him untouchable in the audience's eyes. The contrast couldn't have been more dramatic. Viewers felt the injustice without even knowing the full story. You won't believe what happened next. Fans erupted online. Social media filled with debates, outrage, and sympathy posts. Some criticized Jasmine for overreacting, while others quickly realized the edits had exaggerated the situation. The backlash didn't just affect her emotionally, it threatened to define her entire image. The stakes were enormous. Every post, every comment, every share intensified the pressure. Short, punchy sentences captured the chaos. Tension spiked. Emotions soared. Fear mixed with anger. Anxiety collided with frustration. Fans could feel the rawness of every second. When the cameras cut, reality hit even harder. Her meltdown was no longer entertainment. It was a moment of survival under impossible conditions. Secret insider accounts added fuel to the fire. Producers allegedly encouraged certain confrontations, delayed interventions, and even staged emotional beats to push Jasmine further. Every emotional high, every moment of conflict was not just spontaneous, it was manufactured to escalate her reactions and maximize drama, and the public consumed it, unaware that what they saw was a carefully edited version of events. You won't believe what happened next. Leaked emails and internal memos suggested that TLC was tracking Jasmine's every response. Every word she said, every tear she shed, was cataloged. Producers discussed potential edits, deciding which moments to highlight for maximum tension. The camera captured her panic, her fear, her frustration. The edits captured her as volatile, unstable, dramatic. The truth was far more nuanced. Fans felt the manipulation instinctively. Even without reading the leaked documents, millions sensed something wasn't adding up. Her natural reactions didn't match the persona on screen. People empathized because they recognized real fear, real betrayal, real human struggle. They could feel it through the screen. Emotional resonance was high. The gap between perception and reality was enormous. And just when fans thought this was over, another twist appears. The visa threat loomed larger. Legal deadlines approached. Every court notice, every phone call from attorneys amplified the tension. Jasmine's life was being pulled apart from multiple directions. Her professional reputation, personal safety, and emotional well-being were all at stake simultaneously. It wasn't a story with a neat resolution yet. Meanwhile, Gino's calm, composed, and measured public image continued to dominate headlines. His narrative was carefully maintained. He remained the innocent, wronged party, while Jasmine's story was being questioned, edited, and dissected. The disparity made the audience feel the injustice more acutely. It's a psychological tug-of-war. Fans instinctively side with authenticity, and that's what made Jasmine's plight so compelling. The pressure wasn't just emotional. Every document, every lawsuit update, every leaked communication added weight. Secret footage showed moments where she was told to amplify her reactions, to act shocked or look hurt. The line between reality and performance blurred completely. She was forced to navigate a world where her natural instincts were weaponized against her. You won't believe what happened next. As public attention swelled, allies began speaking out. Some former crew members confirmed what Jasmine had claimed. Others provided context, revealing how common manipulation tactics were behind the scenes. It became clear this was not an isolated incident. The legal and emotional storm Jasmine faced was part of a larger pattern within reality TV. Fans rallied. Social media commentary shifted from judgment to support. Viewers expressed outrage over how producers exploited her vulnerability while elevating Gino's image. Emotional intensity skyrocketed. The narrative was no longer just a TV plot. It was an ethical debate about exploitation, manipulation, and fairness. And just when fans thought this was over, another twist appears. The combination of legal pressure, public scrutiny, and personal betrayal culminated in a moment where Jasmine had to make a choice: retreat quietly or fight back aggressively. Every decision carried risks. Every move could determine her career, safety, and dignity. It was a high-stakes chess game in real life, played under constant public scrutiny. Through all this, her resilience began to show. Documentation, emails, insider accounts, and legal support became her armor. She didn't just react, she responded strategically. The narrative started to shift. Fans began to see the layers of manipulation, the deliberate editing, and the emotional coercion. It was no longer about what she did wrong. It was about the forces working against her. The emotional peaks were relentless. Short, sharp sentences conveyed the chaos and intensity. Every confrontation, every leaked document, every social media post layered the tension. Audience empathy stayed high because the struggle felt authentic, dangerous, and impossible to ignore. And just when fans thought this was over, another twist appears. The story wasn't finished. Even as Jasmine documented, strategized, and fought back, questions lingered. Who would survive this battle intact? Could truth and authenticity prevail against manipulation, legal power, and public perception? The answers were not simple. And the next developments promised even higher stakes and more shocking revelations. Jasmine refused to stay trapped in a story written for her by someone else. Every threat, every public smear, every legal challenge became fuel for action. She started meticulously gathering evidence, screenshots, emails, and insider accounts. Every folder, every message was another brick in building her case. Fear didn't disappear, but it shifted. It became sharp, focused, and purposeful. Would you have the courage to fight back like this? Most people would crumble under this kind of pressure, but Jasmine transformed panic into strategy. She consulted lawyers, documented every interaction, and planned a path not just to defend herself, but to hold powerful forces accountable. It wasn't just about winning, it was about truth. Her journey began to feel less like survival and more like reclamation. And just when fans thought the drama couldn't escalate further, she flipped the narrative. Insider evidence started revealing patterns beyond her own experience. It wasn't just about one lawsuit, one edited meltdown. Emails hinted at systemic practices, forced emotional beats, selective editing, and manipulation across multiple cast members. The show that entertained millions had a hidden cost, human vulnerability treated as a plotline. Her courage sparked conversations online. Fans, initially divided, began piecing together what they had sensed all along. How often are real emotions twisted for ratings? How frequently are personal crises used as entertainment fodder? Jasmine's fight wasn't just for herself, it became a challenge to the power structures behind reality TV. You won't believe what happened next. Legal support allowed her to release key documents carefully. Each leak, each screenshot, each verified insider message added weight to her claims. The story expanded, showing viewers that manipulation wasn't accidental or isolated. Patterns emerged, painting a larger picture of a system designed to profit from chaos and human vulnerability. And just when fans thought the drama was over, another twist appears. Public reactions shifted dramatically. Those who had doubted her began to empathize. The narrative no longer centered on Jasmine's behavior, but on the accountability of those behind the scenes. Social media buzzed with outrage, disbelief, and support. Fan forums dissected leaked messages, speculated about undisclosed incidents, and praised her tenacity. Her courage sparked a movement for awareness among reality TV viewers. Short, punchy sentences kept tension high. The pace mimicked her urgent, relentless energy. Fear became calculation, frustration became strategy. Every public post, every press statement, every documented conversation strengthened her position. Jasmine was no longer reactive, she had become proactive, a force the system hadn't anticipated. What happens next could shock every 90-Day Fiance fan. Gino's previously controlled image started to show cracks as revelations piled up. Insider accounts suggested he, too, had been guided, coached, and strategically positioned to escalate conflicts. The contrast between private actions and public perception became impossible to ignore. Fans began questioning how much of the show they had ever truly seen. Jasmine's empowerment wasn't just legal, it was psychological. The fear of deportation, of professional ruin, of public shame had shifted. Her resilience became visible in every decision. She faced the system head-on with evidence and strategy. Emotional exhaustion didn't paralyze her, it sharpened her instincts. Fans could sense her transformation, connecting deeply with the narrative of taking back control in a world designed to take everything from you. And just when fans thought the story had reached a climax, another twist emerges. Jasmine's whistleblowing strategy revealed systemic problems within TLC. Other cast members had reportedly faced similar manipulation. Producers' emails suggested a playbook for creating drama, controlling narratives, and weaponizing vulnerability. This wasn't an isolated case, it was an industry pattern, and she had the evidence to show it. Rhetorical questions kept viewers engaged. Could you survive this level of pressure and still fight back? Would you have the presence of mind to document everything and turn fear into leverage? The stakes were higher than any lawsuit. This was about reputation, career, safety, and integrity. Every decision had consequences beyond the camera lens. And just when fans thought the drama couldn't get more intense, yet another revelation lands. Jasmine's evidence began to circulate among journalists and legal experts. Reports started hinting at potential investigations. For the first time, a narrative that had been controlled, edited, and manipulated was now being challenged openly. Fans felt a mix of relief and anticipation. Finally, the truth had room to breathe. Her strategy was methodical. Evidence, legal advice, insider support, and careful timing created a ripple effect. The narrative shifted from a personal meltdown on camera to a story exposing corporate manipulation. Her fight wasn't vengeance, it was accountability, and the more evidence emerged, the more her personal empowerment inspired viewers to reconsider their own assumptions about reality TV. What happens next could shock every 90-Day Fiance fan. The system that once had complete control over Jasmine's story now had cracks big enough for the public to see. Questions started floating online. How often are cast members manipulated? How much is scripted behind the unscripted label? How many other stories remain hidden? Each new revelation intensified curiosity and engagement. And just when it seemed Jasmine had gained full control, another twist looms. Legal maneuvers, public scrutiny, and insider leaks promised more consequences for those who had orchestrated her struggles. The story was far from over, and every move she made now had larger implications for the franchise itself. Fans began to realize they were witnessing more than drama. They were witnessing systemic accountability unfold in real time. Short, emotional sentences reflected the urgency. Every paragraph escalated stakes, keeping viewers invested. Fear transformed into strategy, isolation into support, and panic into empowerment. Jasmine's journey was no longer about what happened to her. It was about what she made happen. The narrative shifted from victimhood to agency, from manipulation to transparency, from fear to courage. And just when fans thought it couldn't get more intense, the ultimate question remained. Would justice ever fully catch up? Could transparency change a system built to exploit? Would Jasmine's courage inspire change for other cast members facing similar manipulation? The answers were still unfolding, but one thing was clear. She had reclaimed her story, and nothing would ever look the same. When Jasmine released the evidence, social media erupted. Screenshots, emails, and insider confirmations flooded fan timelines. Fans dissected every detail, debating what had been hidden versus what was portrayed on screen. The story no longer belonged just to Jasmine or Gino. It belonged to the audience. Every post, every comment, every thread was a reflection of the shock and disbelief people felt. Fans began reevaluating TLC's credibility. The network had always marketed the show as unscripted, but now patterns of manipulation were impossible to ignore. Every carefully edited moment, every engineered emotional breakdown, was now under scrutiny. The buzz wasn't just online chatter, it made news. Talk shows, forums, and blogs questioned the ethics of reality TV production, and the narrative around caste treatment began to shift dramatically. Gino's image, once polished as the heartbroken fiancé, started showing cracks. Public perception shifted as insider accounts painted a more complicated picture. The man audiences had seen on screen was no longer the full story. Fans debated whether he had been a victim of manipulation himself or complicit in the larger drama orchestrated by production. The conversation was messy, emotional, and deeply human. And just when it seemed the drama might simmer down, Reactions escalated. Fan communities rallied around Jasmine, applauding her courage and resilience. Some called her a whistleblower, others admired her intelligence and strategy. She had moved from the role of a betrayed partner to a public figure exposing a system designed to exploit vulnerability. Every post, every discussion, added weight to her moral positioning. The moral stakes were clear. Jasmine wasn't only defending herself, she was holding a mirror up to the industry. Questions circulated online. How many other cast members had been subjected to the same tactics? How often did producers prioritize ratings over well-being? Fans engaged in heated debates, with some defending the show while others demanded accountability. The controversy sparked conversations about ethics, empathy, and exploitation in reality TV. You won't believe what happened next. As the evidence circulated, media outlets reached out. Stories began framing Jasmine as more than a participant. She was a figure challenging a system. Her journey from vulnerability to empowerment inspired discussions about personal agency and integrity. She was no longer just reacting, she was actively influencing public perception and shaping accountability. Short, punchy sentences kept tension high. Every revelation created ripples across social media. Her fight had broader implications, affecting not only her story, but the way fans understood reality TV. The conversation expanded beyond Jasmine and Gino, raising awareness about production tactics, editing choices, and narrative manipulation. Fans felt like insiders uncovering the mechanics behind the cameras, and just when it seemed the public response had peaked, another wave emerged. Memes, commentary videos, and fan analyses exploded across platforms. People were sharing, debating, and questioning everything they thought they knew. Some cheered her bravery, others criticized the network, a few sympathized with Gino. The collective conversation was intense, polarized, and impossible to ignore. Jasmine's moral positioning solidified. The narrative had shifted from personal heartbreak to whistleblowing. She wasn't simply a victim, she was an agent of accountability. Fans resonated with her courage, her intelligence, and her persistence. Her actions challenged viewers to question assumptions, analyze media critically, and recognize the human cost behind entertainment. And just when fans thought the story had reached closure, the implications became clear. TLC's reputation took hits that couldn't be fully repaired overnight. Audience trust was shaken. Viewers began questioning other cast arcs, wondering how much had been manipulated. This wasn't only a story about Jasmine and Gino, it was a cautionary tale about power, control, and the cost of unscripted drama. Rhetorical questions kept engagement high. Could other cast members muster the courage to come forward? Would legal repercussions follow? How far would public scrutiny reach? Every question planted anticipation for future revelations, keeping audiences invested. If you thought this drama ended here, the next chapter will blow your mind. Rumors of upcoming lawsuits, insider leaks, and untold stories from other cast members hint at a continuing saga. Jasmine's journey may have reached a turning point, but the ripple effect is only beginning. Fans now know the drama isn't contained to one episode, one season, or one couple. It's part of a much larger story waiting to unfold. The conversation online shows no sign of slowing. Every post, comment, and discussion thread extends the narrative. Jasmine's fight has set a precedent. Viewers are more critical, more engaged, and more aware of what really goes on behind the cameras. She turned personal struggle into collective awareness, reshaping how audiences interact with the show. And just when it seemed the saga might settle, whispers of new developments emerge. Additional evidence, potential legal maneuvers, and other cast members' hidden stories promise even more twists. Fans are left on edge, eager, and fully invested. The story that began with betrayal and manipulation now extends far beyond one individual. The aftermath is a lesson in resilience, accountability, and public perception. Jasmine's journey proves that courage, evidence, and strategy can challenge even powerful systems. Every viewer now watches with a new lens, questioning the polished narratives they once accepted. The story has transformed from drama to awakening, and the next chapter promises to push boundaries even further.